Well, hello and welcome back. How are you doing? I hope all is well in your world and you're enjoying the summit so far. So I talk a lot about not just talking about well-being, but experiencing well-being. And what we hope to do through Wellbeing at Work, through all of our presentations, is connect the conceptual to the practical and give you tools that can help different individuals, as we've been hearing throughout the morning and throughout yesterday, that people are individuals, and what works for one person may not necessarily work for somebody else. So in this session, I'm delighted to bring to the stage and to welcome Jan Heckscher to the stage. Good morning, Jan. How are you?
Hello, Lawrence. Great to see you.
Great to see you too. It was lovely to see you yesterday in person. So welcome. And Jan, by way of introduction, as I asked a number of people yesterday, I'd love you to introduce yourself for the people who aren't familiar with you and your work, but also to share what you do to find balance, to find well-being every day. For like many people, like us all, I could argue, we're all balancing many balls, and sometimes things can fall out of balance, out of equilibrium.
Great. Well, thanks so much for that welcome, Lawrence. It's terrific to be here back in Melbourne after having the luxury of spending day one with you in Sydney yesterday. So hello, everybody. I've been running my own business for over 20 years now, which I still love. I'm an executive coach, facilitator, convener of personal development retreats. Over recent years, I've also developed energy balancing sessions to support people coming back into balance and alignment. And combined with that, I have actually been a Reiki practitioner for over 25 years. So I've always had a strong interest in the esoteric, and I'm really looking towards having a bigger toolkit as possible to support every client that I work with. In terms of what I do to support my own balance and well-being, well, I sing in a choir, which I love. So there's a lovely sense of community that is involved with that. Luckily, I've always loved exercise, and I love being out in nature and find that very grounding and supportive. I'm also a great fan of having a good soak in a bath at night. And even though we don't have a full-length bath, that's great. And I do have the luxury of a really strong support network, and I've always invested a lot in my relationships with people, and I find that incredibly helpful as I manage a very busy load, as you said, Lawrence, that we all do.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that. We'll have to hear some of your music because I'm such a terrible singer. So I always have full admiration for people who sing in choirs. So you've had a very rich experience, a rich career working with some of the largest companies in Australia. And I know you've shared that you're interested in the esoteric and you've developed a new technique. And I'd just love to understand why you have evolved your what you do in this way.
Yeah, well, I've always throughout my career had a particular passion for working one-on-one with people. I think, as we all know, the conversations that we can have with an individual when they know they're in a very safe and confidential space is quite different from what people may be comfortable to say within a group scenario. And I think we can fast track people in that situation in a way that can be extremely helpful to them. From my point of view, again, with this link to having a strong interest in the esoteric, it's very much about working with the whole person from my perspective. And in this work that I've done, it's a tremendous privilege to be trusted to work with people and for them to share really significant parts of themselves, if that's what they choose to do. So the energy balancing work that I have developed has really developed over a number of years. And it's an area that I have a particular passion for. And I think in this new world that we're all inhabiting now, it's really come to the fore. And something that came up yesterday was the need for us as leaders to really recognize that everybody is different. everybody has their own needs. We're looking for the whole person to be respected when they come into the work environment, and that there is a real need to focus on the individual interventions so that well-being supports can be tailor-made for every individual. And one of the things that I actually, a positive for me that came through the COVID experience is that as well as working out of a wellness center, I actually discovered that I could deliver these sessions virtually. And even in that first year of COVID, it was very exciting and rewarding for me to provide over 100 different sessions in that way, which I've continued to do. So I deliver the sessions both in person and virtually. And I think in this new hybrid environment, people have really valued that, and it does really support the flexibility that is so demanded in different workplaces now.
No, I love that. And I mean, you've touched on a couple of, key words or key phrases that are used a lot, bring your whole self to work, be interested in the whole person and support the whole person. And we are all different. So one size doesn't fit all. I mean, this is a theme we've been hearing throughout. I'd love to dig a little bit deeper and understand how it works, because you've shared that it works both remotely and in person, which is wonderful, because we had a wonderful session this morning talking about hybrid work, and that's the challenge. If we can support people everywhere, then that's great. So I'd love to understand how it works.
Yes, certainly. Well, it's really a process I've developed over many years where I'm working very much with my intuition, and it's a deeply empathic process. So in the first instance, when I'm working with a new client, of course, first of all, it's really checking in with them to see how they're feeling and letting them know they are completely in a psychologically safe environment. Anyone who knows me will tell you that I'm a complete stickler for confidentiality. And it's something, of course, having been in business for so many years, I think if I couldn't be trusted, I wouldn't still be in business. So letting people share in the first instance, if they choose to do so, any particular concerns that they may be having. So people can come in with all sorts of different issues. Of course, we know at the moment it may be a sense of great overwhelm. It may be fatigue. It may be low mood or depression or anxiety. Often people come with perhaps health issues or illness, really struggling just to juggle this myriad of responsibilities that are sitting on people's shoulders, and feeling quite frazzled when they walk in or I'm speaking to them via phone. So once we've established any particular concerns that they would like to bring to my attention, I share with them the process that I go through. So essentially, what I'm doing is working very much with my intuition and trusting that. We work through the 7 energy centers or chakras of the body, looking to bring each one back into balance and alignment. And we know that we're all different, Lawrence. We know that we've all got different life experiences and different things that may be going on for us at any one time that can really cause us to perhaps be blocked in different parts of our body. So what I'm doing is going through and just checking that each one is brought back into balance and alignment before I move to the next. The way that my intuition very much supports me is often I will sense things either through visual images or perhaps messages that I get through. And I'm very happy to share that with a person that I'm working with, if that is something that they would appreciate. As I say to everyone, it's different for everyone. But people seem to get enormous value from that. So I start with the base chakra, then the navel chakra, the solar plexus, the heart, the throat, the third eye, and the crown. And once I have gone through that process, I give people a little time just to come to before we then do a debrief and check in with how they're feeling. And as a duty of care, always within 24 hours of working with a new client, I do ring them and just check in with how they're feeling. And I have to say, not only is it an enormous privilege for me to work with people in this very intimate way, But also it is a complete joy and creative process to see and listen to where people get to. I was actually working with a very regular client last week, and she said to me that apart from anything else, it helps her so much as a parent that she will take the session by phone or come into the wellness center and have a session in person. And she can walk in absolutely frazzled and feeling overwhelmed and walks out reset, restored and recharged were the words that she put across to me. And I think certainly in my experience, and something that very much was alluded to yesterday, was as leaders, as individuals, we all have the responsibility, I feel, to be the very best role models that we can be. And I think often in this world that everyone is trying to navigate, we can have blind spots, or we can perhaps be unaware of the impact that our tension and our sense of overwhelm is having on our teams and our stakeholders, and perhaps that contagion effect spilling out into our personal lives as well. So part of what these sessions, I'm consistently told, do is help us move from being the human doing to the human being.
That's
and
wonderful.
Really bringing people back to a space where there's a deep sense of calm and relaxation. They can perhaps see things with much clearer eyes, and just coming back to themselves. And I will at this point, if I may, just share a personal belief, Lawrence, and that is, from our relationship with ourselves, every other relationship comes. So in my experience, the more we can do to support ourselves and feel good without seeing that as a selfish thing, paradoxically, I think we have even more to give out to others. And I think that's something that can be neglected, which is a great shame. And I'd just like, if I may, to quote somebody who I had the luxury of meeting recently, Susan Moylan Coombs. And she used a wonderful phrase, which is, she talks about being self-full. And I totally endorse that. If we can do as much as we can to support ourselves as leaders, other people in our teams, people that are working with us, to encourage them to feel more balanced and aligned, the impact it can have on performance, on helping people's sense of well-being on a profound level, can be very significant. And I find that very exciting, because it is all about offering different tools that people can adapt and use in a way that's very accessible.
I completely agree. It's a tool. It may not be for everybody, but ultimately it's a tool that will really help people. We've only got a few minutes left, but in the final part of this conversation, you've covered a lot of the benefits and a lot of the impact. I guess question in my mind is, are those benefits immediate after like one session, or do people come and see you regularly? Like, is this something they'll have as an intervention? Because we talk a lot about everybody needs their own personal equilibrium toolkit, and for some people, energy balancing will be central. Others, it will be other things. But we need a toolkit because we do get out of balance, and life pushes us out of balance, whether that's external or internal. But from your point of view and the experience, I know you've worked with lots of people, both as an executive leadership coach, so you're dealing very much with that side of things and those solutions. But now in the work that you do, that you've described so eloquently to us today, how often should people actually use this tool?
Yeah, it's a really great question, Lawrence. And again, I think that's very much about personal choice and what works for different people. So certain clients, for example, I have some clients who unfortunately have been quite unwell with cancer, and they've chosen to have sessions on a weekly basis, which they found incredibly supportive. Some clients come monthly. Some clients just come and have one session and love it and find that sustains them very well. So I don't think there's any generalization that I would make, but some people have, 2 weekly, monthly is probably the most common. But again, it's part of the beauty of this, I think, is adapting it to what's right for every individual.
Amazing. Well, Jan, we're out of time, but thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and your wisdom with us today. Where can people find out more about the work that you do?
Terrific. Well, I've got a website, and I think in the virtual booth there's a link to my website and on LinkedIn. I'd also just like to mention, Lawrence, and I think in everybody's goodie bag, there was an opportunity to receive a discount on a session, but I'd also like to offer just here now, for the first 10 people who would like to contact me, I would be happy to offer a complimentary session of 75 minutes so that you can really experience it and see the profound benefits that can be gained by really focusing on yourself, your needs, and doing something for your own self-care to support self-compassion too.
No, it's amazing. It's a tremendous session. I've had one, and it's a great experience. So thank you. Thank you, Jan, and thank you for the work that you do. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow in Melbourne. So
terrific. Thank you so much, Lawrence. It's been great to speak with you.
Thank you so much, Jan. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you everyone for listening. So we're now going to have a 9-minute break. So a 9-minute well-being break, just picking up on what one of the speakers said before. So please use the next 9 minutes to support your own well-being. You could argue everything should support your well-being, but let's take a short break, and we'll be back at 11:05 with a fantastic panel where we talk about one of the big, you could argue the foundations of well-being, leadership, and how can we create more empathetic and authentic leadership within our organizations. We'll see you then. Thank you.